Hi, and welcome to Framed, a Let's Play with focus on cinematography. My name's Aubrey, and I'm going to be your host. Today we're playing Uncharted 4, Chapter 16, The Brothers Drake. As always, watch out for spoilers. There definitely could be some in this chapter, and I would hate to ruin this amazing story for you. Go play the game, and then come back and watch my Let's Play.
There it is.
Who the hell lives here anyway?
Once again, we see the blue and orange divide on
But
the
this is
brothers'
definitely
faces.
the address. Been scoping the place out for the past few days. No one's home. And here we are.
Whoa. This place is humongous. Where do we even start?
And we start by finding a way in. And then we can take the grand tour.
The blue and orange theme reappears again shortly after with that door right here. And the door is not only an entryway into adventure where the brothers discover what it means to be an adventurer and how much they want that, but it's also representative of that home. It's that entryway into that home, that place that they're longing. It's the place that they're lacking. They're on the outside of that warmth, and they're in the blue and the cold kind of by themselves. They have to rough it all the time.
It was worth a try.
Right here, it even looks like the sun. It looks like Nate's trying to break in towards where the sun is. And behind him is the moon. It's the night and day. This blue and orange divide could almost be considered something like night and day. You can see in the distance on the bottom left there, that bright light, and it's a street lamp, but it looks sort of like daylight. But it's surreal because we still can see we're clearly in the evening or nighttime, but we see this bright orange light, and it almost looks like the sun, and it's right next to the moon. And it creates a surreal, almost dream-like experience. And just because of how the light's positioned, it also creates this literal divide on the house itself. It's just this surreal dream, fatalistic experience that's beautiful. I think it's the perfect tone to set up this chapter. So if you'll notice on the left here where Nathan comes in, the orange glow in the distance, there's Nate's shadow. And it's, in my mind, the first thing that pops in is called Looming Shadow. And I don't know if that's because I've listened to the True Detective Season 1 opening, where one of the lines is, her looming shadow grows. But this theme of this bright shadow, this large shadow, just in the distance is apparent throughout this chapter. So when we interact with these statues, because Nathan's using a flashlight, these shadows appear behind them, but they pop up. They bring a lot of attention to them. And then we see this figure here, and it's wrapped up. It almost looks like something that's like a mummy that's wrapped up or something dead. And it's right where Nathan and Sam find this sense of adventure, this place where it's filled with these old relics. And at first, when the light shines on them, they seem alluring and exotic and exciting, but there's this sense of danger right behind them. The co-director and co-writer of Uncharted 4 is Neil Druckmann, and he is the same person who was the lead on The Last of Us, of course also made by Naughty Dog. And I love how they handle abandoned empty spaces and create these subplots when you discover them and are able to walk through them. You get all this meaning in these other characters that aren't explicitly said. Like, there's a letter on the right of this room that you can read, and you can read letters throughout this house and get a deeper narrative through the characters that we're about to interact with, or you can choose not to. But regardless, I think it's important thematically because Nate and Sam are these voyeurs walking into this little boy's room that's all covered up, and I think it reflects what they went through. Nate and Sam had to give up their childhood. They don't ever have this, but they would kill for a life like this. They wanted a family and a home that cared about them. They would love a life of adventure. They're drawn to it. And yet they've never had that because their mother died when they were both very young, and they've had to take care of themselves. So you get this sense of loss and this yearning when you walk into this little boy's room, and Nate is the one discovering it, and Sam as well. And it just is so tragic when you know that they don't have that. They never had that. And this optional conversation just really hits it home that we get to hear right here.
Every place we ever lived.
Exactly.
I remember Dad was always like, why bother unpacking? We're just gonna move again in a month.
Yep. Always the asshole.
So you can tell that this walking into this room affected them a little bit and has brought back some memories of moving, of the transience of their home life, and how they long to just be able to settle and stay in a place, but they couldn't.
Budge.
Here, let's do it
I
together.
love that we
You ready?
see that how the brothers interact literally with their spaces and get through these adventures have been the same. So in the previous chapter, the brothers, when they were being shot at and trying to run away from gunmen, have to shove through doors together, and here they do it again.
Some sort of sarcophagus.
We also see more death imagery of a sarcophagus and literally a red curtain, which is sort of like a red flag behind them.
Sarcophaguses. Or sarcophagi.
Sam, this is real.
What is this place?
I love how we can hear with that sentence the awe and wonder of just the beginning of their addiction to treasure hunting, their whole motivation of their life in that sentence of just what is this place and wanting to know more.
Huh, this one's Roman. 3rd, maybe 4th century.
Hey, do me a favor. When I die, bury me in one of these.
So in small
Sure.
little ways like
Can I mummify
lines
you
like that,
and
you
put your
worry
organs in a
later
jar
on in
too?
the game that Sam is gonna die.
second thought.
It definitely adds to that tension
Maybe
of
not.
shit, it's called A Thief's End.
And you recognize that one?
I've seen something like it before.
Reclining figures. It's Etruscan.
That's right.
Yeah. Husband and wife.
I think this husband and wife sarcophagus is important to pay attention to, not only because Sam and Nate are noting it, but because it speaks to where Nate and Elena's relationship is currently. Nate has excluded her and has pushed her away, and it's almost their relationship or their marriage could be on death's door almost. But it also could go to the theme flashing forward that they would do anything for each other till death do them part. They would be there for each other, and Elena, as we know, at the end of this chapter comes back, so it's interesting the parallels they can draw. The first time I played this game, I didn't notice, but all these drugs are on the counter of the kitchen table. You can tell that the person who's residing in here currently is not well. There's a lot on the counter. And of course we know later on it's an old woman who's near death. But here you get the first sense that it could be somebody who is sick. So we see an orange and blue light on the globe on opposing sides of the spinning globe.
Go anywhere in the
And
world.
I think that's interesting because it
Where would you
again
pick?
draws the image to mind of the sun and the moon, but the spinning globe and how Nate and Sam are talking about where they want to go. It's almost like the spinning globe is like fate and the sun and moon is like the days passing by and time going on.
India.
But Sam and Nate want to fight against fate of just being these orphan boys with nowhere to go. They want
Round and round
to
she
be able to
goes.
travel and mean something
Soviet
and
Union.
create their own destiny
go to
and
Moscow.
fight against fate. The
might
globe's
be a
also a
tad
good way to
difficult to
show
get
that this
in.
is set in the past,
Always wanted
that
to
this
see
is a
the Red
memory
Square, though.
because there's a Soviet Union that still exists and
Australia.
that it would be hard for Americans to go travel, not to Russia, but to
England.
the Soviet Union. And I also think
Sure
here where
would be
Nathan
cool
talks
to see
about
Windsor
England
Castle.
with Sam is
Right,
interesting
Sam?
because at some point
Hey,
Sam and
don't
his
look at me.
parents
It's not my fault you weren't
traveled,
born yet.
and whether that's on
Not like I
vacation or on
remember
an
much of it
expedition, it's
anyways.
unclear. But I love how Naughty Dog
It
just
wasn't
gives
that
you
great.
those little granules of things that happened, like how real siblings would talk. They don't need all that exposition,
Brazil.
but it gives you just a little hint
Now you're
of
talking.
how their family
All
life
kinds of
was,
undiscovered
and it
places
just
in the
fleshes out the
rainforest.
characters so beautifully.
And all kinds of undiscovered
I want to note the
tribes with
statue on the
poison
left
darts.
here. Not only is it a reference to the Last of Us DLC, but it's a real statue called the Sacred Rain Arrow by Alan C. Hauser, referencing an Apache myth. You could actually see it in the National Museum of the American Indian, in DC. So first of all, goals. I would love to have this area of this house, although this whole house is cool. But more importantly, back to cinematography, not Aubrey gawking, is that look at these purple flowers. They're the same ones that have been in Italy and in South Africa, and they are all purple. And this place is lavish, AF. So it definitely is relating to the highborns or Avery's. We see a history of pirates in this room too, so it's a direct reference to Avery. So it's referencing Avery and how he's higher class, and there is no yellow to be seen in sight, which is of course the complementary color of purple, which I am assuming, which think means the lower people, the lower class people. So
Fake or not, this looks like a first edition.
Are you serious?
we also see a pirate ship right over here, right in the same area.
Wanna take it with
And
you?
another peacock, actually, interestingly enough.
It'll just
That was in the
disintegrate in my
villa in Italy. And if we look up right up here, this painting is like a villa in Italy. So I think it's all interesting and connected. When I first came upon this record player, when I was playing Uncharted 4, I about lost my mind when I heard Symphony Number 7 in A major, Opus 92, the second movement, Allegretto, come out, because it is featured in so many movies. And not only is it just featured in so many movies, it is featured in my literal favorite movie called The Fall, directed by Tarsem Singh. It is the opening song in that movie, and when I first saw that movie, I didn't realize, I honestly kind of didn't care or think about cinematography at all, basically. I was not a huge movie person. I didn't watch a lot of TV. I just didn't get it. And after watching that movie, I fell in love with it. Not even consciously, because when I first watched it, it just affected me so much more than other movies, and I didn't understand why at the moment. And when I showed it to my other friends, because I was so deeply affected by this movie, they didn't get it because they didn't understand cinematography as implicitly as I did. So when they felt kind of lackluster on it, I was upset and I didn't understand. I showed it to my dad, who is great with movies and also explaining things, and he's like, this is a very visual movie, and explained all the sort of imagery that I only kind of understood, but he was able to explicate it so well. And it really inspired me to want to do the same. Because I think people miss out on it. It's just a language that you kind of have to study a little bit, but once you get it, it just enhances so many medias in so many ways. It adds just this layer of depth. So it's a big reason why I made this channel, actually. I highly recommend everyone watch that movie if you're at all interested in cinematography and don't mind a lot of heavy visuals, because that movie has it. And if you don't get the visuals, it may feel like it's slogging or incomplete or self-indulgent, but I promise you, if you try to analyze the visuals a little bit, it will really deeply affect you. Now that I've rambled on enough about how I love The Fall, I'm going to tell you how it relates to Uncharted 4. So The Fall is an adventure fantasy film, similar to how Uncharted 4 is an adventure game. So in that way, it's a parallel. But also, we have this parallel of these two people relating in a familial sense. So Nate and Sam are actual brothers, but Roy and Alexandria, the two main characters in The Fall, are almost familial. So both Sam and Roy are almost like father-type figures to these younger cohorts, although Sam and Nate have a much smaller age discrepancy than Roy and Alexandria do. They are also, Roy and Sam, not actual fathers, so their advice and their suggestions are not what probably exactly how they should be doing, although they do end up caring about the person. They have these ulterior motives as well. So there is that parallel as well. I could go on more, but I don't want to spoil it, so watch The Fall and then play this game. I think it's also important to note these dead flowers on the left here. We've seen them throughout this house, although I don't know if I've shown all of them, but I think it's a little bit of foreshadowing of what's to come in this chapter. I think the use of a camera is a Polaroid camera especially, is a really good way to show how the brothers Drake literally develop right before our eyes, just like we see the print develop right before our eyes. So here we see the brothers Drake being young and everything that is really inspiring them to go on the path that they are, and what leads to their ultimate development of these adventurers, of these risk takers, of people who, even the words they say, even phrases we hear later on, is what this area, their mother, and this is the culmination of all of that, basically. And this Polaroid is like a memento of that. It really solidifies this actual development, just like a picture is developing right before our eyes. The Drake brothers are as well.
Journals galore.
Again, we have this looming shadow before Sam when he enters this room, as we did at the beginning of the chapter with Nathan. And it gives a sense of foreboding when we enter this place that is supposed to be the treasure, that is supposed to be the culmination.
Whoa. Sam.
You got something?
So I want you to notice that there is a portrait of a woman right behind Sam and Nate, right when they find their mother's journals. And we almost get the feeling that it's their mother's spirit overwatching them and sort of fating them to this life. And we see these dust particles in the air right around Nathan's head. And it, as I mentioned before, these particles sort of are like fatalistic. It's like humans just going on in their moment in their life. We also see here that this is Nathan, the cover of that book is the same cover that Nathan had in the attic earlier when he's an adult in his home life. And we see why it's such a prized possession of his. It's something that is so pivotal to his life and is just enforced with Sam. We finally get the explanation as to why it's worthy to be with all of Nathan's treasures of these fallen, mysterious archaeological gold mines, and this book is among them. This is an echo to the previous chapter where Sam stands right in front of Nathan when a gun's drawn on them, and he is always the big brother and always ready to protect Nathan. Despite his shortcomings, despite him leading him here, he's always ready to protect his little brother, at any cost, even if it's at his own life. He's ready to defend him with his own body if necessary. You can see that he looks back, and that's his top priority, is protecting him. This scene reminds the player why Nathan is so ready to give up everything, his life, and why he's so devoted to Sam, because Sam has been so devoted to Nathan throughout their lives and giving up everything. So despite that huge betrayal, Sam is still worth our sympathy. It's also important to note that Evelyn, the old woman, is dressed in all black. She reminds me a little of the Grim Reaper.
Face the consequences for our actions.
And also, perhaps because she's so close to death, she reminds us of what is true, that we have to face the consequences of our actions. Sam does it several times, once in jail by leading Nathan astray into this life of adventure and thievery, and again when he lies to him. Nate has to face it with Elena and the repercussions it has on their marriage.
You're Cassandra Morgan's boys.
Since Sam is facing the camera and therefore us as much as he is implied to face Evelyn, we feel like Sam, when he waves hi, that he's saying hi to us and introducing himself as a Morgan, not as a Drake.
Do you mind?
The player can really sympathize with Elena here because we've been playing for possibly years as this person we've known as Nathan Drake, and we find out that's not even who he really is.
You knew our mom?
She worked for me. As I'm sure you've noticed, I'm a collector of sorts.
That's sort of an understatement.
So, Mom was like your translator?
Your mother was the most brilliant historian I have ever met.
We see a light literally shine in Nathan's eyes as his whole demeanor changes. It's a similar expression he gets when he looks up at the painting when he's sitting on the couch at the beginning of the game with Elena. I've mentioned this in past chapters, but smoke is often used in Memento Mori because it is fleeting and ephemeral. Just like these dust particles we see floating around in the air are also fleeting and ephemeral. We know that this woman is about to die. And we also see that Sam is often a smoker, and he is associated a lot with smoke. And that causes concern. At least it did for me at this point in the game.
Greatness from small beginnings.
Sir Francis Drake's motto. Yeah, Latin and historical figures. Those were our dinner conversations. We were a weird family.
Did she ever tell you her theories regarding Sir Francis Drake and his heirs?
Sir Francis Drake didn't have any heirs.
Yeah.
That's what history tells us.
Nathan almost directly quotes Evelyn when he says that's what the stories tell us when he discovers two sigil in chapter 8.
Pirate secrets is just one more adventure I have to let go. I guess there's a lot I have to let go. Forgive me. Ramblings of an old woman. Here. It is as much yours as it is mine. Who knows? Perhaps one day you'll be able to finish what she started.
Yeah, so, we're off the hook, right?
I think Naughty Dog does a really good job of handling movement. Earlier, when Nadine is
You
fighting,
found your way in.
we feel how she's quicker. And here we can see how Evelyn has to lift her own leg off her other leg and how slowly she moves. She's very close to death. She's an old woman. And we just
Sorry about the
get that
mess.
sense of slowness and achiness that she must feel.
Are you okay?
Holy shit. Hey. Hey. Hey.
Sam?
Ma'am? Khalid, you all right?
Wait, we have to do something.
Yeah, we need to get the hell out of here.
Can't just leave her here.
There's nothing we can do for her. All right, we have to run. If the cops find us here, then there's...
Ma'am?
Nathan! We gotta go. Right now. Oh, shit. Window! Window! Come on!
Okay, you check upstairs. You, come with me. Go back around. Back to the main gate.
On the bike! Now! Come on! All right, hold on tight.
I am still not a fan of this wipe transition. At a pivotal point in the story, we are at a river with a bridge. And this is similar to in chapter 4 when Nate is reunited with Sam for the first time again in
I'd
15
say we're
years.
clear.
Where they're
Well, we
by
catch our breath for a
a
second.
river and a bridge at Jamieson's construction company. But here, this is the start of their journey, of their adventuring journey. And as I mentioned before, a river is sort of fate in symbolism with water because it has a set path and it is just something that someone goes on. But a bridge is literally something that crosses it, so it is something that can overcome it. And so here the brothers are trying to overcome their fate. And we notice in the color scheme, of course, is blue and orange again. We see the blue lights of the city and the orange lights of the city and the blue sky of the night. And so there's this division of what they should do. They don't want to just be these orphan boys. They want to live up to Sic Parvis Magna and become great, just like Sir
go back to the
Francis
orphanage.
Drake and like their mother wanted them to
You
be.
can't go back to your job.
Then we don't.
Sure.
No, I'm serious. We get as far away from this place as we possibly can.
Yeah? And how long till the cops find us?
Well, I think they'll be looking for Nathan and Samuel Morgan.
Yeah, that's us.
What if it wasn't? Nathan, back at that mansion, you knew just as much about that stuff as that poor old lady. Here, I always felt that we were destined for something great. But until tonight, I didn't know what that meant. But this, Mom's unfinished work, this is our chance to restart our lives with brand new identities.
What are you talking about?
I know some guys. Pretty good at forging papers, too. Now, as for our new name, Mom believed that Sir Francis Drake had heirs. Who's to say he didn't?
You're serious, aren't you?
Nathan, we were meant for this. And I promise, you and me together, we're gonna go far. So what do you say? Nathan Drake?
And that's where I'm going to end it this week. and we find out the origin story of Nathan Drake. How exciting! Just a note, I won't be uploading next week. I'm taking vacation. It's the 4th of July in the United States here. And it's also my birthday week, and it's the only vacation I get in the year. So I am going to take time and relax and be with my family. But I promise I will upload as the usual schedule dictates the following Wednesday. So I hope to see you again then, and you enjoy. Thanks. Bye.